The objective for today is to learn how to graph linear functions and understand what a linear function represents. We are on Unit 4 and the goal for the unit is this, and we are 4.7 graphing linear functions. Evaluating the function. Evaluate the function when x is equal to -2 or 0 and for 3. So I am focused on question number 3 where you read this as f of x. So the way that you're going to read this is f of x. And for question number 5, you are going to read this as p of x. So when you are reading it as f of x or when you're reading it as p of x, it is nothing different than your y. So your f of x, the way that you write it, your p of x, and if I also look at question number D, question number 10, your d of x, they all represent the same thing. All of them means y. Make sure that you're writing this down. So your f of x or p of x or d of x or h of x or anything, they all means y. So I can replace this by y, I can replace this by y, I can replace this by y. It's just another way of calling y. It's just another way of calling y. F of x is just another way for calling y. Now, coming back to question number 3, which is a focus. So my f of x is nothing but 12x plus 1. The most important thing for you to understand is my f of x is nothing but y. Watch the highlighting which I'm going to do. This entire thing is nothing but y. So I can replace the whole entire thing by y if it makes you easier to understand and keep track of. So my y is nothing but 12x plus 1. So now I'm going to go to my choices given. So the first choice given is x is equal to -2. So I am going to replace x by -2 and I'm going to do my calculations. So 12 multiplied by -2 is going to give you -24 plus 1 combines to give you -23. So this is done. Now I'm going to focus on my 0. So which basically means I'm going to do 12. My x is now going to take on 0 plus 1. 12 times 0 is 0. 0 plus 1 gives you a 1. So the second one is done. Now going for the third one. Make sure that you pause the video and you understand the question thoroughly. So my x is now going to take on the value of 3. So 12 times 3 plus 1. 12 times 3 is 36. 36 plus 1 gives you a 37. So now my f of x, when it was a -2. So when my x was a -2, my answer, I'm going to highlight in green. So when I substituted -2 for x, my answer after I solved it came to be as -23. My f of 0. So when I substituted 0 in the calculations, and I'm going to highlight again in green for you to see, when I substituted 0 for my x value, my answer after calculation came to be as 1. So that means when my function of 0 gives me a 1. And the last one, my f of 3, which means I am taking the third value, which is this, and when I substitute for my x, my answer calculations came to be as 37. So basically you are not doing anything different except this looks different. Nothing else. But if you understand that your f of x is the same as your y, nothing different, then your calculation makes sense to you. Now let's focus on this. Finding the x values. Finding the value of x so that the function has a given value. Now, remember I said that your j of x is the same as your y. I'm going to highlight in pink. This is nothing but y, which is what you were so used to seeing. You are used to seeing y is equal to 4x plus 11. This and j of x equals 4x plus 11 means the same. They are both the same because j of x is still talking about the same y. So now let's look at this question. Find the value of x. They want you to find what x is so that the function has a given value. So which basically means this, they have given you an answer. So they're giving you that your j of x is now equal to negative 13. So let's focus on that. So which basically means this takes on negative 13 equals 4x plus 11. So all I have to do is find what x is. So let's do a two-step equation. Minus 11 on this side, minus 11 on this side, cancel, and you end up in getting 4x is equal to negative 24. Divide by 4, one-step equation, divide by 4 and cancel, and you are going to find that your x is now equal to negative 6, which is the answer and which is what they are asking you to find. Now focus on question number 35. This is how your EOC question probably will look like. It's a multiple choice question. You are given a graph. The graph of which function is shown. Now remember, f of x is still meaning y. So this means y. It's still talking about the y. So which basically means you are given an equation and you are asked to find which graph represents that. So this is the equation y equals 3x plus 8, or these are the other choices given and you are given a graph. The one strategy that you can use is you take the point 1 comma negative 5 and take the first value as your x, the second value as your y. And take the x value, substitute over here for the x, do the calculations and see if you are getting negative 5 for an answer. And once you are done with that, then you look at 0 comma negative 8 and do the same thing, x comma y. Take the value of x as 0 and the y value of negative 8, substitute it in the equation and see which one will be equal. So let's try this together. So you got 1 comma negative 5. So let's try and see if A is going to work. So y is negative 5 and 3 times my x is a 1. I'm getting these values from here plus 8. So 3 times 1 is 3. 3 plus 8 is not going to give me a negative 5. So which means answer choice A is out. Now let's focus on answer choice B. So my y is going to be a negative 5 and 3, my x is a 1, 3 times 1 minus 8. So 3 times 1 is a 3 and minus 8 in this case, or a negative 8 in this case, is going to give me a negative 5, and negative 5 is equal to negative 5, so it is true for the first point. Now let's focus on the second point. It has to work for many points. Let's try at least 2 points. So 0 comma negative 8. Since answer choice B worked for the first choice, let's try 3 times 0 minus 8. And my y in this case is a negative 8. So 3 times 0 is a 0 and negative 8 combines to give you a negative 8, and negative 8 is equal to a negative 8, so which means it is also true. So since answer choice B works for the first point and for the second point, the correct answer in this case is going to be B. And now if I remove this, which is what is given to you, so which means f of x equals 3x minus 8 will be the correct solution. This is just a strategy. What you can do as an alternate strategy is Take the 2 points given to you, 1 comma negative 5 and 0 comma negative 8, and then you can write the equation using a table of values or using the intercept or using the slope intercept form. And once you get the equation, then you can find out which equation matches yours. Now this is a you do question, which means I'm going to start this and then you are going to finish the graphing part on your own. So I'm going to ask you to pause the video, read the question, understand the question, and begin together. Let's start. A home security company charges new customers $155 for the installation of security equipment and a monthly fee of $40. To attract more customers, the company reduces its installation fee to $75. The functions below give the total cost for X months of service. So this is a regular fee, this is the reduced fee. Now, in any word problem, your starting point always in the Algebra 1 honors class is going to be an equation or an expression, which is what they will always give you. So this is the first equation. This is the second equation. They are asking you to graph both the function. How is the graph of G related to the graph of F? So the graphs have a name. This will be the graph of F. This will be the graph of G because it is a function of F and this is a function for G. So let's focus on the first one. So you can f of x equals 40x plus 155. That's my first equation. And my second equation, g of x is equal to 40x plus 75. Those are my two starting points. Remember, this is a you do question, so all I'm going to do is get you started and then you finish the rest. So my f of x actually is nothing but my y. My g of x, the whole entire thing is actually nothing but my y. So I'm going to rewrite this to look like y is equal to 40x plus 75. And I'm going to rewrite this to look like 40x plus 155. Try and understand, I did not change anything except the way they look. They are both the same and they are both the same. So for the you do part, all I'm asking you is highlighting to show you, graph this equation, and after you're done graphing this equation on the same graph, graph the second equation, and then come to a conclusion on how does the graph of G relates to the graph of F, which possibly means you might want to write a couple of sentences explaining how these two graphs relate. So you're graphing the first equation, and on the same graph, you're graphing the second equation, and then you're comparing and contrasting and writing two sentences explaining how they are related. That is a you do question.